Hey guys, welcome back to another Booktober book video. And for those of you who don't know what Booktober is this thing that I'm doing where for the month of October, every day I read a book and I review it. And it's usually something to do with October. It's either something like spooky, something scary, something mysterious. And so for today's Booktober book entry, I decided to talk about Dread by Justina Ireland. And first of all, who doesn't love zombies? Because, okay, so what this book is about? This book is like a historical fiction, historical reimagining, if you will, where just think of the Civil War in United States history, right? The Civil War, very bloody already, very much it's really big for US history and stuff like that. And now imagine the Civil War with zombies, right? So there's The Walking Dead, but Civil War. And in this world, of course, you're in the Civil War, and there's zombies and stuff like that. And the main character, the main protagonist, heroine, she is an African American girl named Jane McKeene. And she basically, originally they were we're not for rights. But then when they found that The Walking Dead was at their doorstep, people started dying at Gettysburg and then coming back to life. They were like, oh shoot, we need reinforcements, we need troops and stuff like that. So they were like, I guess POC can join the fight or whatever. I suppose I suppose we can give them at least some ability to I guess be free in their own way, in their own regard. So technically by this point there's it's not exactly slavery, but it's a separate act that basically employs African American people and indigenous people as well to fight for the US government and to defend all these US settlements against the Walking Dead. And they're like, it's not slavery. And it's not, because technically you get more freedom than you did before. I mean, you even get to learn how to become a polite member of society. You get to become a little ornament that people get to tout around and carry, but it's not slavery. Of course we're forcing you to work in order to be able to I guess have that mobility, have that social mobility. And of course, yeah, you're the ones dying on the front lines, but it's not slavery. It's they're it's better. Working condition wise and stuff like that, they're it's so much better. And so Jane McKeene is just one of the many girls employed by this act to I guess girl boss finishing school, I suppose, where she goes and she learns how to fight and kill these walkers, while also having to learn how to serve ladies in high society and stuff like that, and how to entertain people, what to wear, the latest fashions, the best ribbons to wear in your hair, etc., etc. And she's just kind of having to learn all this stuff. She's at finishing school for that, etc. And it's so sweet and so sad. She's got she's African American, but her mother is white, and I'm gonna say white for now, but her mom's white. And it's one of those things where it's other people see them together and they're like, ooh, ooh, you know? And but like her mom loves her. Her mom loves her to death and stuff like that. She's like, that's my baby, that's my kid. And even when like the her mom's husband, who is also white, he comes home, he sees like Jane, and he's like, "Oh, so you were doing something behind my back while I was gone, etc., etc." Right? And he's just like he's got this resentment against Jane and stuff, and then like finally it's like the mom always takes Jane's side. Like no matter what the husband does or says and stuff like that, the mom takes Jane's side. She's like, I'm not hiding her. She's my kid. Like why should I be embarrassed? That's my kid. And she's like, she would like teach Jane how to read, and she's like, we're gonna learn how to read, Jane. Let's learn how to read the Bible. Let's do this and stuff like that. She did not care about no one thinking anything of her. She was just like, yeah, no, like, cause that's my kid. And I love that. I love that for them. I love the fact that this book has that kind of mother-daughter relationship where she's not exactly abandoned. It's just that like she's going far, you know, she's living in this finishing school and stuff like that, and she writes letters to her mom, but her mom doesn't write back to her. But there's like a reason for that. There's like it gets revealed later, but it's very dehumanizing the way that like they even like the letters that you send to your loved ones, even the way that you communicate to your loved ones is so policed, is so like tightly run, so that like these girls can't leave or get away. And they're like, but it's not slavery though, because like honestly it's not like we're chaining you to anything and stuff like that. It's like, no, you aren't, but at the same time you're not exactly providing any other support system for these girls. You're just like, and I love the way that the book talks about like, I guess like I'm about to like really nerd out like history wise and stuff like that. I'm sorry guys, my bad. But like I feel like the whole act thing that they have, like the way that they're like, you know, we're giving you rights now because you fight for us and you protect us and stuff like that. I feel like that's just kind of like, in a way, I don't know if the author was going for this, but it's so cool if they were. But in a way, it felt like a metaphor for the failures of the Reconstruction period. Because, and for those of you who are not aware of the Reconstruction period, you're probably like, what is going on? It's like it was basically the time after the Civil War when rights were granted, more rights at least were granted to previously enslaved peoples, and they were like, here you have your freedom, go. They were like, here you go, you try to like pick up the pieces where we left off and stuff like that. Like you try to rebuild everything on your own, I guess, like now that you have this newfound freedom, you know. They're like, you have freedom now, so go ahead, do what you want. But it's also kind of like, yes, they have freedom now, but it's also like the way that like everything had previously been systematic in like making sure that they didn't have that support, making sure that everything was not in their favor in terms of having their own autonomy as people, as human beings. So like that whole Reconstruction period was kind of like a failure, to be honest, because of the way that yes, like these previously enslaved peoples were trying to like, you know, okay, now that we're free, we get to do all this stuff, have our own business of commerce, etc., etc. But at the same time, these systems were not set up to like, I guess, welcome them into their spaces, if that makes sense. It was just kind of like they were just marooned out there. They were like, now that you have rights, go. But then it's like they have nothing really that like has moved aside for them, has made place for them, you know. So it's just kind of like, it was just kind of like that period of like, you think it was all like sunshine and roses? Not really. So it was that, but like I felt like that was the metaphor that I read in this book about like the girls and their the act, I guess, in the way that they're like, yeah, no, you have more rights now. You're free technically, but they're still seen as ornaments. They're still seen as something like a luxury that the rich can afford. As it's like another little like font, I guess, for owning somebody, because it's like they're like, oh look, I have a girl that like can like fight my battles for me and stuff like that. I have a girl that's like, I forget what they called them, a lady or something like that, or something, but they're like, yeah, I have one. You know, it's like, so it makes it apparent that although these people, these women, are given like more rights, more liberties, I suppose, it's like on the inside, it's still at its essence, at its kernel, at its core, the same thing that they were trying to get away from. And it's so, I feel like it's so masterful with that metaphor. It's just so good. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Y'all were probably like, so like the story, the characters, could you tell me a little bit about the writing? I will. I just feel like I had to get this off my chest because like I just wanted to talk about this book that really did highlight well. I feel like I mean, you can't really expound upon all the intricacies and nuances of an entire historical period in one book, but I feel like it highlighted at least the main points very well by using zombies as the metaphorical wrench in the road, so to speak. It's just so well done in that aspect, and you could like literally have so many discussions and conversations surrounding this book and surrounding like the themes within this book. And honestly, I feel like we should have these conversations more. Like, guys, here's a little pet peeve of mine. let's stop giving the spotlight to books that we know we're not gonna like and books that we know are bad, and start like talking about these good books. Like, I know people want to see you rant and rave more often than they do like gush about like a good book, but honestly, like, I feel like, how are people gonna know about this gem of a book if people don't talk about these gems like this or use their platform in any way? My platform being like tiny, but still, I just feel like it's worth noting, it's worth talking about. And before anybody comes at me and is like, okay, but you talk about books that you don't like all the time. First of all, I didn't know I wasn't gonna like them, okay? I did not go into it thinking I'm gonna hate this book, I'm gonna hate it, I'm absolutely gonna tear it up, I'm gonna rip it to shreds for people to enjoy, and like have a whole little like, I guess like how people would like sit in on executions and stuff like that, like it's all about like that dark humor, dark entertainment. And I'm like, no, I was not of the mind to rip it apart when I first read it, but sometimes some books test me, and this book was a delight. This book was so much fun to read. And I say so much fun to read because like the main character Jane, I don't care how people feel about her. I'm sorry, but like, I know that in YA especially, like, there's oftentimes like the strong female lead, and she's always like the same formula, copy paste, and there's like no flavor, no nothing new. But I love Jane in the way that she is like, yeah, she's a strong female lead, obviously, but also like she is so like self-assured in herself. Like, she's not trying to be strong in order to look strong or anything like that. She's like, yeah, no, I know, like, I'm pretty, like, I'm that girl, I know. She doesn't have to prove it to anybody. I love that about her. I love the fact that she has that self-assurance, and that like, even like, and it's so cool to see that in like a setting where people, although they don't like say outright to her face, they like, you know, they see her and they look down on her a little bit, and they're like, oh, okay. And so like, her having that assurance, and her being so assured that she's able to utilize that like people's like prejudice against her, and like make herself off to be less intelligent than she actually is, so that she can like trick them better, so that she can like get them to underestimate her, is so really like cool to see. Because it's like her even using like incompetency as a weapon, and it's so nice to see, because she is the type of girl to use anything on hand as a weapon. She's not the type of person to trip and stumble or clumsy, no, nothing. Like, she is like the cavalry when it comes to killing off these walkers. Like she's like over and over, like she's like the top student, right? Now when it comes to actually like following orders and like etiquette and politeness and pedigree and all that, she's not that great as a student. She's not adherent to all these rules and regulations and stuff. Like she knows them, and it's not like she's like unaware of them. She sometimes like heeds them whenever it's in her favor, but whenever it's not, like she's also got no qualms breaking rules. She's like, yeah, I know I'm a troublemaker, and like she does get punished for it. It's not like somebody's like sees her breaking the rules and they're like, oh Jane, you're so funny, look at you, you little rule breaker, you little rebel, you. And I feel like that's because, you know, her as a character and her background as her character, she can't like she's not afforded these little like not reassurances, but dismissals, where they're like, you know, yeah, it's fine, you know, like that's just how she is. She's such a quirky character, like it, and it's so I guess like eye-opening to me to see like a character who is all these things that typical YA protagonists are, and yet she receives different consequences and different reactions from these people depending on her actions, as opposed to like a non African American YA protagonist, you know, where they're like, they do something and it's like, oh, you're so silly, ha ha ha, or like, oh my gosh, she's so like, she's such a baddie, or like, oh, I gotta take her seriously now, oh my gosh, like I respect you as a person. Like, no, like nobody respects her in that regard. They still underestimate her even after she proves them like she's better than 10 of them combined, because obviously she is. But like, you know, they get what's coming to them, for sure. They're getting what's theirs. And I like the fact that it wasn't only Jane as a character that you really get to like talk and like connect with, but there were also like all these other cast of characters as well, that you get to experience, that you get to have this little fun journey with, I guess. And among the cast of characters is this one girl named Catherine, who is a part of the finishing school like Jane is, but she's like white passing, and she's very pretty and stuff like that, and Jane and her do not get along at the start of this book, and towards the end they like kind of become frenemies in a way, like, well, more than frenemies, they're friends, I suppose. But it's also like it's sweet because it's nice to see their character dynamics grow, and it's also nice to see the way that like they both have that arc of like, oh, I didn't really understand you before, but now that you've put things into perspective for me, like it's I understand you more and I respect you more as a person. And it's like they both have that arc, and I just love the fact that the author is not afraid to have her main protagonist be wrong in some instances, in some cases. She's like, oh yeah, that was my bad, like that was like on me, and I just love that. There's also Gideon, like this dude named Gideon. This first book, it's not exactly like overt with any romances, like it's talked about like previous romances or like crushes or like possible attraction, but no actual romantic developments. I'm not sure if like the second book has it, and like honestly, this is one of those instances where if it did, I wouldn't actually be mad. I know it's a shock to me too. Like me liking romance, me finding something romantic like entertaining. Like I said, guys, I'm not averse to romance or anything like that. I just feel like if it were well done in some instances, in some cases, then yeah, sure, like go for it. And in this case, like the book really set up this Gideon character as like, I don't know if he is a romantic interest, and if he's not, he's just a hot character. Like he's so hot to me because of the fact that he so he's like the son of this really bigoted mayor, but the thing is like he does not follow any of his father's like ideals or anything like that. He is very much doing his own thing. He is an inventor, I believe. He's like a scientist of some kind, and he helps out Jane and the rest of her motley crew whenever they're trying to escape this one place. It's a bad place, and you know, he just minds his own business. I think that's what I really like about him. Like, he minds his own business. He speaks when spoken to. I'm just kidding. Like, it's just like he knows when to keep his mouth shut for sure. And he just seems so like intelligent. So it's just kind of like this mix of like the best qualities in a man while also maintaining a morality like that is like, no, I don't agree with this, I'm not gonna follow. And I love that about him, honestly. And if he is a romantic interest, then like, cool. And if he's not, I mean, like, he's just a very compelling character, I guess. So more for us. As for the story, the locale of everything, honestly, like, this is such a good book. But at the same time, I'm like, it's a really good book. And it's also one of those books where if you're okay with like the story lingering for a bit before it moves to another locale, then like, yeah, I just think that like the story does like set up like a big part of the beginning as like exposition and stuff like that, but it's also to be expected because of the fact that you're literally reimagining an entire historical period, so you have to like get it right, make sure that the readers are like up to date with all the important details and stuff like that. And this book does that. And honestly, like, I didn't feel like it was a drag though, because of the fact that again, the characters were very compelling. The writing style itself, the prose, makes it so that it moves from scene to scene quicker. Like, it doesn't linger in like descriptions and stuff like that, or prose, or like musings or anything like that. I'm sorry, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just doesn't linger, so that like it can get through all the points that it wants to get through quicker, and set up for this story and probably the second book, honestly. And I may actually read the second book outside of Booktober, just because I'm like so swamped by everything right now. So I just want to be able to have that time to really ruminate on it and read it and think about it and stuff like that. But this book was amazing. Like, this book was like really good. I think you should check it out, honestly, because of how good it was. But yeah, no, that's all I have to say on this book. Bye.